tossers have thrown it out the door with their behaviour this week. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should absolutely look at themselves in the mirror and wonder what the have they been doing. They're hissing at us and calling us cheats in the Lord's long room, and they have the gall to talk to us about the spirit of cricket. Absolute bullshit.
There's a big appeal that's hit him on the pad. He's out. Lions gone. New South Wales are 9 down. Onto Sydney Road, and it's hit a car. Oh, I think it's hit a car. What a way to bring up your 50.
All you want is to leave it all behind. Now there is a simple remedy to stay fit for all eternity.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cricket Unfiltered podcast. It is a special emergency episode, a Friday afternoon edition, or Friday morning here, Australian time, because there has been quite a big announcement. George Bailey has announced Marnus Labuschagne has been dropped for the first test against the West Indies. Not completely unexpected, that's for sure. And then in comes Sam Constas for Marnus and Josh Inglis for an injured Steve Smith. So we will see a radically different batting lineup in the West Indies. And they've made the big call after 53 consecutive tests to drop Marnus Labuschagne. And I guess I want to get into the details of the dropping and maybe how the new batting order will look with Constas in England, but Inglis being recalled. But the big thing here is, this is actually good for Marnus Labuschagne. And I would maybe say this has come too late. In fact, they probably should have taken this decision a little while earlier, because we've seen over and over again in the history of Australian cricket, if you make a tough call and drop someone, they can often come back a better player. It does something to you. I don't know what it is, but maybe that experience of leaving the team and being on the outside for a while, and then you come back in with a different perspective, with new tactics of the way to approach the game, with a new mental game. We've seen it in the litany of Test cricket. I mean, you look at Ricky Ponting was dropped a number of times in his Test career early on. Steve Waugh was dropped a couple of times. I mean, it happens to the best players. So this is not the end for Marnus. This is almost the beginning of a new chapter. I mean, look at Usman Khawaja. It seemed like his Test career was over, and he's come back and had a really good spell. So, this is not the end for Marnus. This is a chance for him to reset, to go away and work out what it is that has changed. Why all of a sudden in the last few years he's had such a steep decline. And I don't think it's all just people working him out. I do think there are issues with over-tinkering, overthinking, overtraining. He needs to simplify his game. Go back to what the simplest things in cricket are. Make runs, hit the ball. He messes around too much. I think he looks at Smith, who always tinkering, and he thinks that's the way he should be, but that doesn't work for everybody. Smith is a genius. He is one of the best test batters in the history of the game, but because he can do all that tinkering and adjust game to game, I would suggest Marnus is not that type of player. He needs to simplify his game, and he's lost that edge that made him such a good player. I've got his year-by-year figures here. And, when he came into Test cricket, say in 2019, when he came in for that Lord's match when Smith was concussed, he averaged almost 65 that year. The year after, he averaged 67. The year after that, 66. And then in 2022, he averaged over 56. But then in 2023, he averaged 35. In 2024, he averaged 31. And this year, he's averaging 16. He hasn't scored a century since the Ashes in 2023. So he needs to go away and get back to what made him such a dominant Test player for 4 years in a row. And actually, you can't, that can't be a fluke. Like, there is no reason Marnus can't get back to performing well in Test cricket. Maybe not averaging, close to 70, but he's got the skills, he's got the talent, he's got the temperament, and he's the player we need to take us into that next generation. When Smith and Khawaja and all the veterans start dropping off, Marnus will still be around. He's got, great Test experience now. And he played 55 Test matches. Let's see if he can come back stronger and better than ever. I think maybe the selectors probably needed to do this sooner, but they didn't. And it's now incumbent on Marnus to knock the door down and get back into the team. So, that's going to be a really interesting journey to see what Marnus does at the level below. George Bailey made some comments. So Steve Smith is going to miss that first Test in the West Indies. And Bailey said, Steve needs more time for the wound to heal. So we'll give him another week's rest and assess his functionality after that. Again, I'll say it. I said it on the main show this week. Why rush Smith back? If his finger is in any danger of being further damaged, do not rush him back. So I've said that. I'll say it again because I'm really worried that they're trying to rush him back in for this West Indies tour when he needs to heal it up. And he also, George Bailey said, we have made the decision to give Josh and Sam the opportunity to replace Steve and Marnus. We are excited to see them get the chance to further their fledgling Test careers. So, we know Constance will come in and open the batting with Usman at the top of the order. And I think that's a great thing. Constance comes back in, he opens with Khawaja, and we can see how Sam goes in the West Indies. If Constance does well and Usman struggles, maybe there's an opportunity to make a change for the Ashes. If the selectors are thinking Usman's too old for the Ashes, well, if they've had 3 Tests together in the West Indies and you've given Constance an opportunity before the Ashes, maybe you could make a change and Constance and another opener. Okay, so you bring Constance into open. Where does Josh Inglis bat in this new order? My gut feeling is he'll slot in where Smith batted and he'll bat at number 4. If the selectors thought Cameron Green could bat at 3 last week in the World Test Championship final, then I think they're probably going to have to back him to bat at 3 in this first West Indies Test. As I said before, maybe when Smith comes back, you can make a change and you can bring Green down to the middle order and bring Smith up to 3. But at this stage, I don't think Josh Inglis is a Test number 3. I did talk about him maybe opening in the World Test Championship final, but I don't think he's a permanent top order player. Like, I think he's Inglis's highest number 4. So I think that's where he'll need to play in the West Indies. I know in the subcontinent, maybe you could push him up to 3 if the conditions are really slow and turning. But yeah, I like Inglis at 4 or 5. So I think for the first Test against the West Indies, we're going to see Usman, Sam Constance open the batting, Green at 3, Inglis at 4, Head at 5, Webster at 6, and then you've got obviously Carey, Lyon, Hazelwood, Stark, Cummins. I mean, that should be the team we see in the first Test against the West Indies. If conditions are really turning, if it's a dry, dusty wicket, then we could see a situation where Hazelwood misses out and perhaps they play Matt Kuhneman. He could play if the conditions are turning. I'm not sure that the Australians will make many changes to the bowling lineup apart from maybe that second spinner. So, yeah, I don't think we'll see Boland play or anything like that. You can stop that speculation, Jared Waitley, already. But, yeah, so, this is quite big. Bailey said they've announced the batting lineup a week out to give Inglis and Constance time to prepare. So it's a bold decision. I think it's the right decision. Constance is a born and bred opening batter. We're not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. He's a young opener. Give him a chance up there. And then Inglis made a superb century on debut in Sri Lanka. He's a devastating natural stroke maker. He's one of the only few Australians to make a century in any format. So I like him playing in the middle order. And I just wonder what the Australians are going to do with the batting lineup moving forward. After when Smith comes back, they're going to have a lot of questions to answer. And I think they need to be flexible and not be stuck at, oh, Smith's done well at 4, we'll bat him at 4, because Smith's done well at number 3, so he could bat there. Could Head come up the order? I'm not sure. He's done really well at 5. He's that counter-attacking option in the middle order. And so I'm not sure Head could come up to 4, but Head and Inglis play very similar games in the aggressive manner in which they take on the bowling. So that's a pretty aggressive middle order if you've got Head or Inglis and Head at 4 and 5 in that first test. But yeah, I think good call by the selectors to drop Marnus. I'm a huge fan of Marnus. I think he's a great player. He's a future leader of this Australian team, but he needs to go back and work his game out. It's got too complicated. He's lost that simplicity of just going out and hitting the ball, trying to score runs, and he's got too in his own head. You can just see, some of his strange dismissals in the last year. So, big news. Marnus Labuschagne out of the first test against the West Indies. In comes Sam Constas and Josh Inglis. And a bold decision by Bailey to announce it this far out. In a way, I like it because it gives us something to talk about and it stops the speculation. So I think it's a good decision a week out to just stop all the speculation around Marnus's position after the World Test Championship. McDonald, Cummins, they'd both spoken about Marnus. So I think the writing was on the wall, and we've got the batting lineup, an exciting batting lineup for the first test that starts on Wednesday. All right, I'm going to end this. I've got a question from the chat. So this is coming from Chris McPherson. I've been on the Chris McPherson show. So if you like all Australian sports, check it out. Do you think we see Sam return to a more traditional batting style here? Still will be more aggressive than Usman, but I feel he won't be as unorthodox as he was versus Bumrah. That's right, Chris. And I think we've seen Constance go through a bit of a journey in the last few months since making his test debut. Before that, he wasn't an out-and-out slogger, or he wasn't doing unorthodox things opening the batting. But Constance said it after the Boxing Day test, that he just felt he couldn't just stay out there and try and survive against Bumrah because it wasn't going to work. And that's the way these young batters think. When I was growing up, you'd probably be told in that situation, just grind it out. Doesn't matter if you score any runs, just get through this hour or two, and then you'll be able to score runs after that. But the youngsters, they're the TikTok generation. They don't have the patience to grind it out. He's like, nah, stuff this. I'm just going to ramp him over the slips for 6, see what he does with that. And it worked. So I think we'll see a more orthodox Constance, but I don't think we'll see him put away all those shots completely. I think he uses them now to put bowlers off their lines and lengths, to change the field, to put that thought in the bowler's head. So I don't want him to lose that debonair bravado that's made him so entertaining, but he needs to find a balance. And there's that notable innings where he tried to do it to Scott Boland in a Shield match after his test debut, where he was trying to ramp him, and Scott Boland got the better of him, and New South Wales coach Greg Shippard, in consultation with the Australian coach, just had a little bit of a chat with Sam. So I think he's going to find the balance between that aggressive mentality and that more conservative mentality. All right, well, that was an emergency Friday afternoon episode of Cricket Unfiltered, but yeah, big news. Marnus Labuschagne has been left out of the first test against the West Indies, and Sam Constas has been recalled. Josh Inglis will replace Steve Smith for the first test. So a new look batting lineup for the opening test. And Marnus Labuschagne, well, the first chapter of his test career is over now, and it's incumbent on him to go away and come back a better player, as have many great Australian batters in the past. So I'm looking forward to Marnus version 2.0.